welcome to Everything, Anything, and Nothing Really, the podcast where we will talk about everything, anything, and nothing almost always at the same time. My name is Eric Walensky, and I am one of your hosts.
And guess who the other of your hosts is?
Would that be you?
It would be me. My name is Matt.
And how are you doing this evening, Matt?
Oh, I'm peachy keen.
Peachy keen?
Yeah,
No.
You don't hear that much anymore, do you?
No, you don't.
But you need to. I think we need to bring that back.
Yeah, you might see it in old-timey news.
You might see that, although there's no telling what you might see. I do have some old news that you may have missed because you weren't born. So we'll get right to it. My first article that I have is from August of 1906 from the Grand Rapids Press of Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Headline screams, "Women in a fight!" The next subheadline says, "Exciting episode on bathing beach at Muskegon."
Tune in for the next exciting episode.
I'm just picturing the reporter writing that, kind of hyperventilating as he wrote that,
Right.
Exciting on bathing beach at Muskegon.
The sub headline: Umbrella, jabs, and uppercuts figure in battle that was witnessed by resorters. What's a resorter? Is that somebody who's just resorted to violence now?
He's resorted to watching violence. Or maybe it's a person that does all the sorting after it's already been done. Maybe we're reading it wrong. Resorters, not resorters.
Oh, it's a whole bunch of people who divide things into categories.
Right.
Just taking a little day at the beach.
It was a convention of people who sort things.
I want to be the guy, though, who already did it right the first time. He comes in and goes, I already did this. Why are you guys resorting everything?
So the article goes on, Muskegon, August 25th. Lake Michigan Park was turned into a pugilistic ring, and one of the most spirited fights ever seen in this section of the country took place.
That is a lot of hyperbole, like right off the bat. I mean, even for 1906, isn't that still going? Like, there were never any better fights than this? Wow.
So yeah, it says, one of the most spirited fights ever seen in this section of the country took place. The combatants were women. It's almost like...
Well, then, yeah, describe the women, though. This is great.
Then it goes on to tell about them. One of them was young, good-looking, and attired in a bathing suit. She was Blanche Howard of Carson City. The other exponent of the manly art was a married woman, a resident of Muskegon Heights. Her name is Mrs. Peter Johnson.
Her name is Mrs. Peter Johnson. We don't even get her first name. Welcome to 1906.
Yeah.
Where Blanche Howard, clearly still single, fought Mrs. Peter Johnson.
In this corner, pretty, young, bathing suit clad Blanche Howard.
Right.
In this corner, married woman Peter Johnson.
Oh boy, I love it. Boy, yeah, this hyperventilating reporter is just doing his darndest to make this sound like the Thriller in Manila, right?
Don't go yet. Tune in. Listen, I've got more.
Hang on. This isn't just a paragraph. It's not just two women got in a fight. The combatants were women. One of them was young. One of them was married.
I wonder why it started. So,
yeah, why did it start?
The fight was precipitated through a man who is the husband of the latter.
It's always a man, isn't it?
2,000 resorters witnessed and heartily applauded the go.
2,000 resorters stopped resorting everything to witness and heartily applaud. Wow.
Johnson had been in bathing with Miss Howard, who was a stranger.
And we all know about strangers.
Mrs. Johnson appeared.
Well, here, before you continue, I was a little confused at this because it says Johnson had been in bathing with Miss Howard, who was a stranger. They're now referring to Mr. Peter Johnson.
Right.
See, because when I read this the first time, I thought, so Mrs. Johnson was bathing with Mrs. Howard, and then Mrs. Johnson appeared? What? Wait, what?
No, Johnson refers to the guy.
Yes.
So.
Yes, he had been in bathing with Miss Howard. And if they're at Muskegon, that means they're bathing in Lake Michigan. So it's not like they were in some tiny little hot tub together. They're in one of the largest freshwater lakes in the world. And apparently this set Mrs. Johnson off as she appeared.
Yes, Mrs. Johnson appeared. She seemed very angry at something and motioned wildly for her husband to join her. He did so, and Miss Howard, thinking the woman was a friend of her companion, followed. Oh, no. Idiot.
Like, yeah, I know. The wild gesturing, you know?
I mean, they practically, so Miss Howard is like, oh, this is going to be fun. This will be great. We'll go with his friend. Do more bathing.
She couldn't tell that the old married woman was pissed?
Miss Howard stepped forward for an introduction. She got one.
Oh, now this reporter's just getting cynical.
It came in the shape of a resounding whack on her back from an umbrella yielded by the irate Mrs. Johnson.
What?
They didn't say how do you do in 1906.
So I'm picturing, pretty young woman following the man up the beach to this irate lady who's holding an umbrella apparently and now swings it.
Miss Howard started running up the beach with her assailant close behind. Miss Howard stumbled, and the two rolled over together on the sand before the eyes of a vast whooping crowd of spectators. Then the fight began at short range. Uppercuts, jolts, swings, jabs, and hooks followed swiftly in succession. Were they in that order?
I was going to say, are these women boxers? Uppercuts, jolts, swings, and jabs, and hooks. Like, my goodness, this sounds like a workout.
Yeah. At this instant...
Yeah, I know. At what instant? Was this like a video game? It was some kind of like Mortal Kombat? Uppercut, jolt, swing, jab. Instantly.
A policeman shouldered his way through the crowd and separated the two, with visible embarrassment.
As you would be if you were a policeman in 1906.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a lot of this, a lot of yeah.
And the crowd,
a lot of Jimmy Finlayson in the Laurel and Hardy movie, kind of thing, Yeah.
Oh,
that kind of
man.
stuff.
Yeah, I love the gesturing wildly, and Blanche Howard thought, oh, I'll go see what this is about. She wasn't up there doing the Charleston.
This looks like fun. Let's see what she's up to.
Oh, boy. Yeah. She wanted an introduction. She got one.
She got one. Yeah.
And yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was news in 1906.
Yeah, stop the presses. Two women had a fight on the beach.
I know.
So, yeah, that was what was going on in 1906.
Mm-hmm.
We move a little further forward to 1928. Where young people would write for advice to a newspaper person named Miss Fanny, who wrote an advice column in the Macon Telegram called Life in a Tangle. So,
okay.
I think some of these problems that the young people in 1928 had are just as pertinent today, and I think the answers are just as good today as they would have been back then.
They're close.
So, I think you've got a copy of it there.
Yeah. Dear Miss Fanny, I have been a steady reader of the Telegraph, and I like your part fine.
Are we sure we have the right tone for that? I like your part fine. Like, I like your part fine, I guess.
Your part of this newspaper's okay. She goes on, I have some questions I would like to ask you. What would you say to a boy when he asked for a date? What would you say when you didn't want to have a date with that boy and really did not have an excuse? What would you say when you did not want them to hug nor kiss you? Also, what would you say when he started to leave? Signed, Wondering. Well, first of all, Wondering, you really thought this through.
Let me think of every possible thing that could happen to me in a social situation.
What do you say if he asked you for a date? What if you didn't want to go on that date? What do you say when he wanted him not to hug or kiss you? What do you say when they leave? Well, it sounds like you sigh a big sigh of relief that they're gone. It's like, oh, thank goodness. I didn't want to go out with him. I was so glad he didn't hug or kiss me. Oh, my goodness. I have got to put pen to paper and ask Fanny what she thinks about this. So her answer, and her answer, she really thoroughly goes into this. Answer. When a boy asks for a date and you want to give it to him, you might say, yes, Joe, I shall be glad to have you come around. Or, I'll be glad to have you. Or if he says, what are you doing tomorrow night? Say, I have no engagement, and I'll be glad to have you drop by to see me. She's going through all the scenarios now.
Write these down on flashcards in case you can't remember them.
He might say this, then you should say this. But if he says this, then you might want to say this. If he asks you to go to the picture show, you might say, fine, I shall be glad to go. I have been wanting to see that show. Whether you have been wanting to see it or not, apparently.
But what if I've seen it already? What then?
And again, are we reading that fine correctly? Fine. I shall be glad to go. I've been kind of wanting to see that show, I guess.
Or maybe it's, fine! I shall be glad to go. I've been wanting to see that show.
Of course, this is 1928, so it's not like they're going to have to go watch some superhero rehash or anything. Everything would have been new in 1928. So
well, except for what Chaplin is doing. He had been doing that for years. But
well, except
seen
for
one Chaplin film, you kind of, oh, he's doing a maudlin sad thing again, followed by some weird funny stuff. Oh, that's... Now he's trying to make us feel sympathetic and sad again. Oh, Chaplin, you sure do know how to make us feel sad.
Well, Matt, if you didn't want to go to the picture show with me, you could have just said that. So after all of that, Fanny continues, it does not really make much difference what you say. You ought to be moderately enthusiastic and as natural as possible. As naturally, moderately enthusiastic as you can be. Don't overdo it. Oh, my. If you are usually a dignified person, answer in a dignified way. If you habitually talk with modern slang story, make your reply of that nature.
Just act natural.
Right.
That's the main thing.
If you're British, use an English accent. I like that. If you habitually talk like a modern slang story. Sure, Pops, I'll go to the picture show with you.
Vodio-do!
Vodio-do! Let's go to the picture show!
Say, that's a hot one.
22 skidoo.
23 skidoo.
23
You need
skidoo?
one more, dear.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh.
I habitually talk like a 1920s slang story, so
You should know. Okay,
I should know.
I won't contest that. When a boy asks for a date and you have no real reason to refuse, you are forgiven if you merely say, "I am sorry, but I have another engagement." You're
Forgiven by who?
I was gonna say this
or by whom?
This takes a religious tone now.
You've been absolved.
You do not necessarily mean that you are going out with some boy or that you are having a date. You might have an engagement to keep the baby for your mother, or to sew a new dress, or to read a new book.
The baby for your mother, wink, wink. Not the one that you secretly gave birth to, and we had to keep it a secret, and you don't tell anyone until you're in your deathbed in the 1990s. Not that one.
Not that baby, no. You do not need to explain to him what you are doing. Quit with all the questions, will ya? I don't want to go to that picture show. I told you I'm not a fan of Chaplin. Just leave me alone. If he asks, with whom is the engagement? Because he knows everybody in town. Just look at him and laugh and say, "Ha ha 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 ha! Who wants to know?" Maybe that's not the tone Fanny meant it in.
But do it naturally.
But yes.
If you say stuff like that in a dignified tone, laugh in a dignified tone and say, "Who wants to know?" If you do it like a modern slang story, do it like a modern slang story.
If you want to do it like an evil mustache twirling villain, throw your head back heartily. Who wants to know? That's how I'm picturing all these girls refusing dates in 1928.
Oh, man.
To keep a boy from kissing you is usually not so much a matter of words as a matter of action. Just say no and stick to it.
Well, no is a word.
Right.
Isn't it? I mean...
When your beau starts to leave, say to him that you are glad he came and you hope he will call again some evening. Or tell him you enjoyed his call, or the show, or the evening, and you will be looking for him again sometime before long. Or say, "Geez, oh Pete, like she just got out of her improv class and started writing her advice column." Or you do this. Or if if you're at a newsstand and it's raining and he wants to tell your fortune, you could say, "Well, who wants to know?" And scene. Wow, Fanny, you are incredible at the improv game.
I think she's covered almost every possible situation
I was gonna
that
say.
this girl could come into with a man for the rest of her life.
Right.
So there was another letter to Miss Fanny, and this person writes, "Dear Miss Fanny, I am a girl of 18, and I am planning to go to school in a nearby town, and I do not know any boys or girls there. Shall I introduce myself, or wait for them to introduce themselves? Please advise me how to gain friendships there. Min." And her answer? "Anybody who signs herself Min instead of Blue Eyes or Brown Eyes is smart enough to make herself liked when she goes away to school."
What does that mean? Anybody who signs herself Min instead of Blue Eyes or Brown Eyes.
So
Is that a common thing back then? You know?
well, I'm guessing to the advice column, people didn't write their real names. They maybe wrote Brown Eyes or Blue Eyes.
Well,
maybe
sure, but
she
I mean,
was
the
sick
first
of that.
one was signed Wondering.
But maybe that was her little slam at Brown Eyes and Blue Eyes. I don't know. I mean,
Oh, she's
know.
calling out all her other readers.
maybe people named Min are just a lot smarter. I'm not
Well,
sure.
either way, Fanny likes the cut of Min's jib here, so let's see what other advice she's got.
It is perfectly proper for you to introduce yourself to the girls with whom you come in contact. And it is.
Just the way that sounds. I'm picturing Min running to the doctor. Oh, doctor, you got to check me out. Well, did you come in contact with any girls today? Oh, I did. I came in contact with several.
Did you introduce yourself? No, I waited for them, but didn't know what to do. So you didn't
get their names. Great.
When you sit beside a girl in the dining room or the classroom, you can easily start a friendly conversation. And if she seems inclined to be friendly, introduce yourself. Well, that's good advice.
Okay. So her advice is, if another human being on this planet interacts with you, interact back. Wow.
Of course, you do not want to force yourself upon anyone. So, on the other hand, Min, don't be too enthusiastic here, because some people may not like you.
Get the hint, Min.
Simply conduct yourself in a natural, friendly manner, both with the girls and the boys.
The natural manner again. Be moderately enthusiastic with these new girls and boys.
Don't force yourself upon them. Talk modern slang if you must.
If they ask you if you like baseball, don't immediately say, yes, I love baseball. Be moderately enthusiastic. It's okay. I've seen a game or two. That'll win you friendships. Be dignified. I much prefer cricket.
If you don't want to be friends with somebody, be cool and say, who wants to know who's my friend? The fact that you are students at a school together, Miss Fanny continues, makes a camaraderie which is not possible in other places.
True, but weird to say.
The school is a sort of hostess and presupposes that you who are assembled there should know each other.
You who are assembled there?
We, the assembled, on this hostess. What?
This sounds like it either came out of the preamble to the Constitution or like a liturgy somewhere.
Yeah, well, I know. It does sound kind of, I don't know, like a community type thing, like a church or a club or a cult. But your attitude toward the acknowledgement of pick-up acquaintances with the boys in your classes would be entirely different from that toward boys you would meet on the street.
Oh, boy. So this is already like kind of highbrow class warfare here, right? Yeah. Oh, these are college boys, not those boys you would meet on the street. Leave those boys alone.
It is all right to permit a classmate of the opposite sex to speak to you and introduce himself. To allow him to speak to you? What?
Yes.
What if somebody came up to you and said, what time is it? No. Don't speak to me.
Hi, I'm Bob.
No.
No.
I've never seen you in class. Never seen you at the hostess.
You could just be a boy off the street.
So anyway, she continues to say that you will gain friends just as anywhere by being friendly, unselfish, considerate of others, by making yourself a pleasing addition to any circle. Find something good in everybody and wear a smile. Unless, of course, the person is not from your college. Then you don't have to smile. So I guess now we know all about making friends.
In the 20s.
In the 20s.
And how to date in the 20s. Sticking to the time period, I dug up and I shared with you a bunch of old inventions from the early 1900s that actually got patents but never quite made it to production. And the one I want to start with, it's a design for a date hat that would prevent boys from asking a prospective date out if they already are spoken for. The hat displays the time and day of the girl's date and has a label that reads "Taken." This was actually patented in 1956. It's a date hat. So women walk around with hats on that say when their dates are?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Wouldn't it, if the woman had a ring or something on, wouldn't that be the similar kind of thing? Like if she had an engagement
Sure,
ring?
if she had an engagement ring
Or
or
if she
wedding
had a
ring,
big guy with her named Jethro or something, wouldn't that be a sign that she's probably taken?
Well, sure, but we're talking about girls like Min, who are on the college campus, and it's awkward for boys to make friends with Min. So it'd be a lot easier if she just wore a hat that said when she's got her date. Anyway, I thought that was a crazy invention. Here's another interesting hat, and this one actually goes back to 1879. It's a hat for a road lantern fixed to a horse's bridle and balanced between its ears on a small cap.
What could go wrong?
I know. Let's put fire on top of the horse.
Oh, God, what a horrible thing to do.
I love the fact that all these people want to improve upon the hat. Look, the hat was good as it is. And not only hats, but apparently inventors throughout history have been trying to perfect the bed and alarm clocks. This one combined a bed and alarm clock, again under the what could go wrong. It's an alarm bed that tips the bed up to a 45-degree angle when it's time for the sleeper to get up. That's from That's from the 1900s. I guess it was a real problem back then. Like alarms just weren't loud enough. They needed to throw people out of the bed. Come on, you're late for the docks. Get up, lazy bum. And if that wasn't enough, somebody else designed an alarm clock that wakes the sleeper with a blow to the forehead from a pivoting antenna released by the clock mechanism. Oh my gosh. Nothing like getting hit across the eyes with a thick piece of metal in the morning.
Well, assuming that that's where your forehead is, because, some of us move around a lot in our sleep.
Right. You're catching an antenna. Anywhere between the top of your head and probably mid-chest at least.
Yeah, it could go up your nose or wherever. It could...
It's ridiculous.
It's terrible. I wouldn't...
And remember, these were all legitimate inventions that were actually patented. I don't ever think they went to a full-on design and manufacture, but they were actually patented. Here's another one. A snore alarm that monitors noise levels with a microphone and adjusts the angle of the sleeper's head when snoring is detected. That is the worst podcast ever. Right there. A microphone monitoring snore levels.
I'm sure there is a podcast. I'm going to search for a snoring podcast now.
There you go.
And if there's not one, that's what we should change our format to. That'll bring them in. Nobody's doing a snoring podcast. It's our niche.
Somebody thought it'd be a good idea to put a stove under the driver's seat in a car. It's heated by channeling the exhaust pipe underneath the apparatus.
Take that to the mechanic. What's the problem? Well, you got a stove right here under the driver's seat, causing all the problems.
Finally, in 1926, somebody made an aeroplane parachute designed to ensure safe landings. It's a parachute for the airplane. I don't know. It might ensure a safe landing, but it does not promote confidence in me at all. That the plane gets a parachute?
Well, that could work.
Well, anyway, there was some strange inventions that were actually patented but never produced.
Good thing.
Most of them, yes.
Well, from old news to newer news. Well, not really news, but it's been a while since we have done a Craigslist Missed Connection reading. And,
It has.
So I think it's time to go back to some of those and read some Craigslist Missed Connections, hopefully help people find their missed connection.
Yeah.
Here's the first one. You took my meat order with the most sincere, amazing smile on your face. I was standing on my tiptoes to see you over the counter and you laughed at me.
All right, let's stop right there. I was standing on my tiptoes to see you over the counter. Either A, this is the most unusually tall meat counter ever, or this guy is like really, really short, in which case, if she laughed at him, that's rude.
She's a jerk, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
because,
he's 4 years old or something.
Right. But if he's that short, he could just look right through the meat counter at her.
That's true.
Like through the glass. Anyway,
he goes on to say, not an average interaction in my opinion, unlike any other grocery shopping experience. He makes it sound like this was a day at the amusement park. He stood on his tiptoes at the meat counter and she laughed.
I gave my meat order and she smiled. Not an average interaction, in my opinion.
That was the most amazing interaction. Most amazing grocery shopping day ever.
He's really reading into things here.
Then he goes on to say, haha, this sounds absolutely ridiculous. Oh, you think? But maybe we could connect another way, other than over a counter filled with animal carcasses.
Where was this deli? The carcasses were in there? Where does she shop? Like, this wasn't cut and prepared meat? The carcass was in there? Gross.
Me, late 20s, brownish red hair and dark eyes. You, darker hair, unsure of length due to hat.
Due to hat.
Maybe this will work somehow. Ha ha. I was in the store Monday, January 25th. If by some miracle you see this, please respond. Tell me what color shirt I had on.
So wait a minute. Is that all he really wants? He just wants to know what he was wearing.
I know the day. I know how I stood on my tiptoes. I know what I bought. I just don't remember what was I wearing, so I can put it in my clothes journal.
The entry is not complete.
So I hope we get them together. I would hate to think that a match made with animal carcasses would fizzle and die.
Well, we go from the meat counter to this next one. The day was Saturday, 5/7. I had just finished eating my cheese fries outside of Gillies, and they were pretty good, so I thought, well, I paid for this. I might as well lick up the rest of the melted cheese because this is pretty good. It's almost like he's trying to justify this in his mind. Like this really isn't about the misconnection as much as it's about him, wanting the world to know I paid for this. So I feel all right about it. Then a stranger from a distance shouted something along the lines of, "Stop licking that cheese, that's gross." Along the lines of? Like he's paraphrasing?
It's too hard to remember what she exactly said.
Well, he doesn't want to eliminate anybody in this misconnection by quoting directly, lest somebody read this and go, I didn't yell, "Stop licking that cheese." I yelled, "Hey, you. Are you licking that cheese? Don't do it. It's disgusting." So this couldn't be me that he's talking about. It's somebody else. Also, if this stranger knew the ancient art of hollerin', They might have been able to convey their message a little better, and then he could have accurately quoted them.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he finishes with, after he gets shouted at, "We locked eyes for a solid 5 seconds, and I replied, 'I paid for this cheese,' and walked away, but I felt a connection. Then I reflected, who hurt you, mysterious cheese Nazi?" and for as crazy as it sounds, I see his point. Somebody must have been having a pretty bad day to yell at a complete stranger about licking cheese out of their cheese cup. I mean, from what it sounds like, he wasn't licking it off the stranger's face. He was licking it out of the cheese cup. Well, hey, I think that's a pretty good place to wrap us up for this week.
Sure. So remember to listen to us on iTunes and on Podbean, and we're on WordPress. Remember to like us on Facebook, tell your friends about us. Thank you for listening, and keep on listening.
And I second everything Matt said.
Good.
So, for everything, anything, and nothing really, this is Eric saying goodnight.
And Matt saying goodnight, and see you next time.
Can you close the door? Don't forget your laptop.